Hello, Appleton North students and parents. My name is Paul Hermes, Associate Principal of Curriculum and Instruction. Students, as you know, recently we surveyed all of you to elicit your feedback on how things were going this school year. First of all, we want to say thank you. We had over 1,000 student surveys filled out, and we went through every single one of them, looking for how things were going for you. Thank you for doing that for us. Your opinion, your experiences, your recommendations means a lot to us, and so we appreciate you filling out those surveys and giving us that feedback that we needed. From that feedback, we as a school have been talking about what are our students saying in their experiences of learning this year. And from that feedback, we've put together a series of changes, tweaks, as well as some good reminders for us as we move forward to try to make our virtual learning experience better for all of us. Now, one of the common themes that we got from the surveys was how difficult this year has been for all of us. And it's important that we take a second to acknowledge that. We all feel like this has been difficult. It's difficult on all of us at North, teachers, administrators. We know it's been difficult for all of you students and families, and not just at school, just generally in life. And so it's important that we acknowledge that and that we're all going through that together. However, as equally as important as it is to acknowledge and embrace that struggle, it's also important to acknowledge that that doesn't mean, therefore, this is going to be bad or that things are not going to get better. Because we don't believe that. While this has been a difficult year and this is a challenge to figure out how we're going to do just about everything, we are committed as an Appleton North community to maintaining excellence in education that we have done every year. So we want you to know that we know that this has been difficult, but we also want you to know that we're right here with you to try to make this experience the best that we possibly can. So the purpose of this video, our intentions, are to talk about two main things. Number one, we want to go over some of the things that we talked to everybody about back in early September when the school year started. It's important that we revisit some of the things we had set up as our expectations or how things were going to work at the beginning of the school year. So we want to review those things. And secondly, we want to highlight some of the adjustments, some of the changes that we're going to make as a school community to make virtual learning a more positive experience for everyone. So when we looked at the surveys overall, we saw them kind of breaking down into four common themes. Number one, there is a universal desire by all of us that we were back to some level of normal. We wish everyone was in school. We wish our world was back to normal. That's a theme we all feel. Two, there was a lot of positive feedback that school is better this fall than it was last spring, that we've made some improvements from sort of that emergency shutdown we had back in March last year to how we're doing things this year, which is great. And then the third and fourth themes, or some of the things we want to talk about today specifically. There was a common theme about students struggling with overall workload, how much stuff they were doing, as well as the ability to manage their time to do the work that they were assigned. And then fourth, that struggle just in general of all of us on understanding how to do school in this virtual learning environment. Let's start with theme number three, the struggles that some of us are experiencing with workload and time management. So you'll see on the screen here are just some of the areas that I think if we talk a little bit more about, it might help us with some of these areas. So as a reminder, attendance. It is mandatory that all of us attend school. Specifically, this year, students, you must check in via Infinite Campus for every scheduled class and homeroom every day. Attending class is more, though, than just checking in. Checking into Infinite Campus and then closing your Chromebook or not joining the Google Meet for the actual class is not attending. So attending school is both the check-in in Infinite Campus as well as then the engagement in that course and coursework. Secondly, when we're talking about workload and time management, it's important to also remember that our school day and school week is the same as it's always been, in the sense of we go to school 5 days a week, and our school day goes from 8:15 to 3:50. Any shortening of any of those things is going to make your workload more challenging. Remember, school continues to be your main priority and obligation while you're still in school. You may have heard us use the words synchronous and asynchronous classes. Essentially what we're saying is, let's use 8th hour as an example. Every Tuesday and Friday, you'll have 8th period, and it goes from 10:35 to 11:40. That's a scheduled class. Now, while every 8th hour you may not be in a Google Meet for that entire time, you should plan that you're going to spend those 65 minutes every Tuesday and Friday on 8th hours class. It's really important that we think around that. That's my scheduled time. Now, the asynchronous learning is when you're going to have other 8th hour work to do outside of when it's scheduled during the school week. We are going to make sure that there is not an excessive amount of work for 8th hour to do outside of Tuesday and Friday during that time frame. But there is going to be some of that time that you're going to spend outside of 8th hour from a scheduled perspective. Along those same lines, Wednesdays was something that a lot of students gave some feedback around with not understanding what Wednesday is all about. Want to make sure we're all on the same page that Wednesday is a combination of really two main things. Wednesdays are some of that asynchronous learning that 8th hour might have you do on Wednesday, but it's also a time for you to connect with your teachers during the student support time in the afternoons. It's a great time for you to get some coursework done. But if you're struggling with keeping up with your workload, really look at how you're utilizing Wednesdays. It's an entire school day from 8:15 to 3:50 where you have that flexibility to do that work. But if you're not scheduling that Wednesday appropriately or not engaging from 8:15 to 3:50, we understand that you might be falling behind. So let's really think about Wednesdays as that combination there of doing additional coursework and then connecting with your teachers for any help that you may need. And finally, also another aspect of the schedule are these student support times. And over an hour every morning and every afternoon of every school day. These are both parts of the school day and can be used for 2 hours worth of coursework, Canvas engagement, and connecting with peers and your teachers to get schoolwork done. But if you're not taking advantage of those two hours overall in every school day, we understand where there might be some struggle with workload. So please remember, while your first class of the day may not start until 9:25, school starts before that, as well as continues after your last scheduled class. So that first segment of the video were some of those reminders, things we talked about back in September, but thought it was important to circle back to because there's a lot of things built in there that'll help us all through the process. The second half of the video is specific to the feedback you provided us in terms of how you would suggest we make some changes or areas where you are struggling that we made changes to address. So the second part of the video is to talk about those areas, what we were calling adjustments to virtual learning. I want to walk through each one of those things. These are changes you should start seeing in your classes starting right away. The first adjustment that we're making based on your feedback is the integration of weekly outlines. You will see in all of your classes at the start of the week a weekly outline posted in Canvas. This outline will highlight the plan and work that'll be assigned for the week. We believe this will help you in planning and anticipating what you're going to need to do when throughout the course of the week. And we are committed to not adding any surprises to what is expected of you that week. Our second adjustment that we're making is we're all committing as a school community the integration of Canvas modules. Some of the students gave us feedback that understanding all of the materials within Canvas was hard to keep track of. Modules is a better way of organizing Canvas so that you can see as a student sequentially what are the steps in the process of learning that you'll have to do for that week. Our third adjustment is the realization that we all have is that virtual teaching and learning takes longer and is more difficult than it is when we're in normal school. So we as a school community within our courses, we are focusing on course essentials. Not cheapening the learning that you're getting, but rather having a really hard look at what is it we're going to make sure that all of us experience and learn about this year, and cutting away those things that will help all of us with managing virtual learning. The final major adjustment that we're going to be making is in instructional delivery. You're going to see more and more of first-time universal instruction being delivered via video versus through live one-time Google Meets. We're making this change for two major reasons. Number one, by creating these instructional videos done pre-recorded, it allows us to optimize the time we do have together those 2 days a week in our synchronous learning times. Optimizing this will allow us to do more student collaboration, more learning application, more student engagement activities that we need to do when we're together, and then move out the things that we can do on our own. The second reason we're making this change is because having pre-recorded videos will ensure that if you have any technological issues during a class, or you just didn't get all of what the teacher told you the first time through, having a pre-recorded video will allow you to have that resource anytime, anywhere that you need it, which will help you in navigating this virtual learning. I want to thank all of you for watching this video and us being able to explain some of the changes and reminders of things that will help all of us through virtual learning. We don't pretend that this now will solve all of our issues and everything will be perfect. However, it is our commitment that while we're doing virtual learning, we are going to constantly be tweaking, changing, and improving it based on your feedback. So thank you again for providing us the information and the opportunity today to highlight some of the changes that we're going to make moving forward.